Hello everyone, this is another Dune Raider devlog, and these past 2 weeks I have been preparing for the new region. But before that, I had to finish something I started a long time ago, and that was reworking weapons. A long time ago, when I added the spell book and spell items, I also added the ability to switch out the player's weapon. But I haven't had any other weapons to switch to until now. So, I decided to add 6 weapons to the game. The first weapon was the auger, which is the drop that comes from the driller. Originally, it was a passive acceleration item, but that proved to be rather useless, so I decided it would make a better melee weapon. So instead, it now works as a melee weapon that destroys anything in your path for a few seconds. It has a really long cooldown to make it more balanced with how easy it is to use. This should also make it easier to fight bandits once you acquire it. The next item I worked on was the rifle, which has a 2-second warm-up before it destroys whatever is in front of the player. It has quite a long range, but due to how it works, it is rather hard to aim. It also consumes loot every time it is fired, so it is only meant as a last resort for fighting enemies that are really annoying, such as bandits. The next 2 items I added were magic weapons, that being the flame burst and the lightning staff. The flame burst will, for a few seconds, damage everything in a cone in front of the player, and the lightning staff will destroy everything in a line in front of the player. Both of these not only consume mana to use, but are also one-use items. This, however, can be fixed with a channeling staff, which gives a chance to not consume these 2 items on use. And last but not least, there is the javelin. The javelin fires a dumb missile directly forward. It functions similarly to the rifle, but lacks the loot cost, instead making up for that with the relatively low travel speed of the projectile, trading the loot cost for it being harder to hit. I will potentially be adding more weapons in the future, but for now, these will do. In addition to these weapons, I have also added a few other items to help the player with combat. I added the wind fins, which decrease the minimum speed for traveling across water safely, and more importantly, I added the field generator, a new magic spell that creates temporary hit points at the cost of reducing your maximum mana. And to further balance this and the new scrolls that have been added, I have more than halved mana regen speed. So not only can the player no longer constantly use the dodge spells, but you cannot spam any of these new weapons as much as you can the spear. So the spear will always be the most reliable weapon in the game, even if it isn't as convenient to use. But that's enough talking about the items. Now, it is time to show off the new region. For this region, I wanted to make something more different and unique. For the enemies, I wanted to put aside using bandits and barges, and instead, you will be fighting giant insects, as the game is currently rather lacking in terms of wildlife. Currently, I have modeled the parts for 2 new enemies. The first will be a dragonfly, which will behave similarly to the harpies, but I want them to use ranged attacks, and their attack patterns will be more like the phoenix. And the other enemy I have planned will be a sort of spider creature with very long legs that you have to cut with a spear. For the general appearance of the region, I created strange, twisted trees and colored the sand pink specifically for this region to convey it as a sort of twisted environment, and also to give a break from the boring orange and yellow sand that you find everywhere else. For the next devlog, I want to be able to show off these creatures in action, as well as have the boss modeled and ready to put in the game. So you will all see what the boss for this region will be in the next one. So until then, see ya.